Yes, did I? Like the first person.
Or it's always no.
Yep.
After they speak in the borough president's office, we got a FOIL request for everything we've ever done on Arrowhead.
Okay.
I don't know if you have private notes.
I don't know what it is.
No.
That's like that.
Everything, you should have everything. Okay. And I can actually share, I made a folder with all of like, some of the documents, so I can share that with you.
Okay. That includes dates when we met with them outside of, if that's what they're looking.
I mean, that was only that, what, September
Was it September?
3rd or 4th?
We also had the conversation. And even from.
But
That's off the record.
No, they aren't looking for a conversation with elected officials. But let me, so we don't have a FOIL officer. So I'm gonna go to the borough president's office and clarify what we can send them and all of that.
This is a request came from the VP's office or
No.
someone else?
Yeah, they
Sorry,
can't
sorry.
FOIL it.
Sure. I mean, okay.
Well, actually, you're gonna find out, because I'm gonna have to share that with you, since I'm gonna have to ask you, Jay.
I don't know everybody. But like, how before that, we voted no. Oh yeah, that's just too.
So I will copy him and I'll mail him the balance of the check.
So everything that
And then I want
the staff brings to vote has to be motion, and then there needs to be a second. So you can introduce the motion, just need someone to second it.
And the way she responded.
Quick,
So I said, I know how, I told the superintendent, and I told him, I don't think I do that. But was I wrong to come out and say, I feel like you don't?
I agree with you, and enough is enough. I don't, let me get it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, you can say, yeah, we asked the committee's opinion, but because there wasn't quorum, it's not
Right,
binding, so
you're
it's
not
like.
endorsing any position. Yeah. Until you make a motion and somebody has to say. Okay. So you can come to the committee. Yeah, it sounds like you're getting ready. Good job. Brand new podium for you. I'm not there.
That's funny. I still remember when we got that for you. It was like 2014 or something.
A little later, when we bought the other equipment, we got rid of the other one that had stuff.
Yeah.
Francesca ran over here.
Happy New Year.
Right, and then I go call my phone, I'm like, who's this one number? I don't know, but I feel like I'm there. I don't know. Left it open. But yeah, well, I already have it, but just.
You're gonna put it by the flag. Here, Pat, figured I'd share this with you, considering we have Mount NYPD growing outside.
I'm at that stage, it's sad. Yeah, well, I used to be able to. Thank you. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry.
I think I'm now burning that bridge. I never got a response. I sent it to the mayor's office twice since. No response.
Oh my God.
Natasha made me take the line out. How many cops did it take to change the light bulb? The answer is who knows? They don't change light bulbs.
So being unsafe doesn't,
Well, their cars are safe. I guess I should be thankful my car's safe too.
these are the lights, right here. I was just about to ask you about the birthday too.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to give that to you. I'm calling that mountain one TV now, it's a road.
I like that paragraph. Values the safety of their private vehicles. What do you think? Yeah.
That's accurate.
Well, then, see what they did to him.
And that's what I
See
said.
what they did to him.
That's what I said.
What are we talking about?
We're getting a new
Precincts.
commanding officer
Again?
every 2
Every 2
years.
years apparently now.
2 years already?
Every
Yeah.
2 years already. You just
After
get
they
to know
get
them, you just like them, and
Wait,
she was
wait,
saying,
wait, wait. So your friend now is gone?
I mean, she's not my friend, but yeah, but she's not.
She's your friend.
She's out, she's out front.
Yeah.
And she was very good and she
Well,
I have a feeling that he knows people and he's working his way to the top, and he had so many red flags.
What's his name?
I Googled him.
He doesn't have a very good reputation. He does? Unless I'm thinking somebody else. Oh, no, it's for somebody else.
Okay, he was,
I know of a
another red flag.
he was implicated in the
Housing worker in their age. He was in charge of. What's it called when they, herd- yeah, when they herd people, yeah, it was like really aggressive. Had a lot of complaints,
Yeah, the thing with him, you're supposed to leave your policy.
Really?
About 11 months in that one.
Very bad money.
years, it's like it takes 2 years for you to just know, yeah, and get people to trust you. And there's nothing when you as a people, look what they did.
You got Jessica Fish's number?
Is that?
Gerber and
They're only assigned to the 760 days, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
different.
Gerber called me back.
5 days back.
No, he actually called me back. today.
So since you said, Letitia, we
No, they
can't,
didn't.
as a board, write a letter. Speaking of our disappointment, at least, I don't know.
but I mean, it's gonna go to Adam. and Adam's gonna-
Oh, he has disappointed me, like,
And you can't take phone calls.
he won't,
There's
there'll be
no-
another seller.
Or the machines all in the store.
Is that enough? So the community affairs officers, what they do now, they're assigned central.
Like go from South?
Division. No, they're assigned to New York City community affairs. So at any point, they could be called to any precinct to do anything. So for example.
What's the whole point?
Because they have a shortage. That's why I have to use. No, not because they have a shortage, just because that's how they wanted to restructure it. So Susan, for example, has always come to the because she couldn't come. That's why I had the youth people there, because they are, I knew things would be there no matter what. Susan's like, I can't go, I'm assigned to 6-7 now. I said, why are you assigned to 6-7? So again, the relationship that we had, whenever there were events in this community, we always had Gerber, or we always had Dean Hannon from back in the day, and all of them, and. You know Officer John died, right? You know Officer John, that he passed away. I heard from him. That was when they had the real walking the beat. Did you hear that Dan Murphy's father died? I heard that. I thought you didn't know. Okay, his father passed away, I can use the slide, services, whatever, I'll do it, I reached out to him, I saw it, I'll send it. So, you wanna reach out? I can't believe he's in a huge family, huge. There was a picture of his dad surrounded by all the children, and it's huge, and all the men looked alike. I was like, oh my God. Strong genes, yeah. What I share. Okay. So pasó nada que pero yo no sé qué le pasa a esa mujer. If you only have 2 grades now, right? I mean, I'm not a principal, I don't know. But you don't have time to respond to an email?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
I count to 17.
11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, that's Francesca. Yeah, I counted 17. You said 23?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I want to know how big he was.
Jeremy, can you hear me?
Yes, again.
I don't know, for some reason you're coming in very low.
Because I'm not talking into the microphone.
Okay. Thank you. Just want to make sure the problem wasn't on my end.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:33 p.m. We are still waiting for quorum. But I do want to give a few moments to some folks who are here. I do want to give the floor to our 72nd Precinct XO if you wanted to share any information with us.
Hi, Captain Huey, 7-2 Precinct, Executive Officer. I've been here a couple of times, and, always a great experience, getting the feedback from you, or any, advice, suggestions. And, I'm here to hear it, and I'm gonna, go over the past year, and then look forward to, 2025. And last year, we actually have a very successful year as far as crime-wise and traffic-wise. Also, we did a overall decrease, crime down to 4.2%. The traffic overall, we're down 7.98% overall. And although we're facing several challenges along the way, and we accomplished these reductions. And well, our commanding officer, she has a system in place that everybody working with a mission to, drive down the crime and reduce the collisions, injuries. It's like a system. It's like a machine that's running, fine-tuned machines running. And any questions you may have, we have a system to address it. And unfortunately, the commanding officer is moving on to a next adventure, and we're gonna have a new commanding officer. I know both of them, the candidate, so they're great. Don't worry, they're great. So what else? I mean, let me hear your concerns. Anybody? I can.
Any questions for the XO?
I don't have a question. I have comment regarding the motor vehicle incident that occurred in front of PS 169 on Monday. I understand it was some elderly seniors. I know Grisel is here, and I would like to know just what steps what occurred.
Right. This happened in the afternoon. It's pretty early in the afternoon, and the lady is 76 years old, driving a car on 44th Street. That's right next to Sunset Park, making a left turn. And there's a pedestrian crossing. She's 70 years old, and she was struck. And right now she's fighting for her life. And it's really serious, and she may not make it. So it's unfortunate right now because of the possible fatal use for what's called possible error on the driver's part. This thing we may see prosecution. I don't know. Just right now we're working on see what comes out with the investigation.
Do you know if was it during the dismissal? I know you said it was in the afternoon. I know some parents were concerned. We are concerned as a community board. We have brought up numerous times for more advocating for more crossing guards. I believe PS 169 does have a crossing guard, but maybe this time for us to also advocate for them to perhaps get increased hours, in particular, depending on the time that this occurred. I'm not sure of the time.
Crossing guard. We don't have a lot of them, but I can bring this back to the commanding officer. Just there's a lot of schools that need school crossing guards, and the one that we get it's from 6th Street and 3rd Avenue. That's with heavy traffic, and those are the places we assign just on priority wise when we have a lot of traffics. And there's not a lot of traffic on 4th Avenue and 7 for 44th Street and 7th Avenue.
Right.
So, you know, if we have enough people, we definitely assign them. But it's just, I don't know how, you know, if we have enough resources to allocate to that.
So that's something we would follow up with the new commanding officer as well
Yes.
as the outgoing one, because I know that the Doctora Pantoja School on 36th Street and Fifth Avenue, they do not have a crossing guard yet, and 36th Street and Fifth Avenue is very busy as people have the bus depot across the street, we have the gas station at the corner, and we have the train station and the bus. So that is a priority. We also voted on it as the Executive and Budget Committee to increase the number of school crossing guards in our community. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Griselle? Yes, please.
This is just a comment to say thank you to the precinct 72nd. With that accident happen, very sad. And precinct 72nd was special today at the senior center to orientate my seniors about how important it is to do not assume that the conductor of the car is looking at you. Never assume that. Assume that thing. But it's very important also the clothes that the people use, you know, especially during nighttime. So thank you to the precinct 72nd for that information. They keep my seniors informed. I feel so sorry for that lady, and I hope that she feel better. But I know that she's really sick.
Yes, she's, yeah.
Thank you. I do want to move on because I believe we have our council member here. I want to thank you for coming tonight, giving us an update on the accident, and hopefully hear some good information soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge Councilmember Hanif and give her the floor. Do we need-
Thank you, Julio. Hi,
There you go.
everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, great. So I can't be there in person. Busy day for us in the office. I just wanted to share a few updates. The Arrow Linen application has reached the City Council. As many of you know, many of you participated in the testimony and the hearing, and it took place last week. We heard over 70 testimonies in person or online and received hundreds of written testimonies. As you know, I've received a significant amount of feedback on the application, and the top concerns remain affordability, height, and the need for infrastructure improvements. And I've been clear with the developer that the current project as it stands, which is the two 13-story towers at 25% of which would be affordable below 60% area median income, I am opposed to that. So right now, the push continues to be to maximize affordability, which I'm hopeful they will commit to. I've also heard loud and clear about the height of the building with concerns that under the previous proposal, the site could be more than 13 stories because the zoning did not have a cap. However, the city of Yes now allows and opens up additional zoning opportunities, which we are exploring. I've communicated with the developer that the 13-story, 15, 19-story scenarios are absolutely untenable. And the developer is taking all of those concerns into consideration. And the hope is that we're able to come to a project that is amenable to the community's needs and looks at the future of the city while also taking care of our beloved Windsor Terrace community. And for there to be a total of 244 units, which is the originally proposed number of housing, So keeping that in mind, I'm asking for a design that is less than 13 stories, that keeps the same unit count, and increases affordability. Right now, the total affordable units would be 61. I've been pushing on getting us more. We're also working very closely with the Fifth Avenue Committee, a trusted partner in our community, to memorialize all of the agreements and investments that come from this project that are otherwise not binded. This would be binded through a community benefits agreement, and Fifth Avenue Committee has a ton of experience playing this administrative role. On a previous project I worked on, which now Councilmember Alexa Aviles represents, 341 10th Street in Park Slope, or some would say South Slope, is also similarly in a community benefits agreement with the Fifth Avenue Committee. I really believe that with the right modifications, we're going to get to a good project and much needed permanently affordable housing. And I really look forward to staying in dialogue with the community, and really appreciate just how active our community has been over the last several years, and it is not going unnoticed. I want to give two more updates relevant to the Community Board 7 corridor that I represent. 21st Street and 6th Avenue has been a major traffic concern. Last month, before the holidays, I did a site tour with the Department of Transportation. Community Board 7 had a representative, and some of the neighbors who live along the 6th Avenue, 21st Street corridor, to address to see in person the confusing traffic patterns and dangerous driving that has escalated since July of last year. And so the commitment we have from the Department of Transportation is that they will do an expedited traffic study. They have to do a traffic study. That is protocol. These traffic studies take 6 months longer. We have gotten them to commit to a 3-month traffic study to identify ways to make the corridor safe. It is a dangerous scene out there, and I'm really gonna work hard and appreciative of the residents who sent us videos and photos, because it's made a difference, and I look forward to collaborating with the Department of Transportation and improving the safety in that area. And then finally, we are hosting a flooding event, a flood mitigation event with the City Sponge. Last year in October, my office had partnered with the City Sponge, Gowanus Canal Conservancy, on 4th Avenue, the Park Slope Civic Council, for an important community conversation and a panel on the state of flooding in the 39th Council District, hearing from neighbors and neighbors exchanging what they've done in their homes or within their complexes, and highlighting the urgent need for not just solutions, but community-driven and collaborative solutions. And so now the follow-up conversation to this is an event that is taking place on Saturday, January 25th from 1 to 4 p.m. This is going to be a flood solutions fair at the Van Allen Institute. We're going to be exploring flood resilience strategies. There'll be experts, there'll be available resources, and will be an incredible opportunity to learn how to better protect our homes and community, and I will also be there. That's all on my end.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, for the updates. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
We do have a quorum, so I do want to call the meeting to order. Jeremy, is that a question for? Okay, just wait for the microphone. Councilmember, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, we have a question from Jeremy.
Yes, hi, Shahana. I was wondering a couple questions about Arrow Linen. I wanted to know how the community benefits agreement, how Fifth Avenue Committee was brought in, and also about our recommendations that the community board made about halting the process and creating a task force. Have you considered that? Has there been any conversations with residents about that sort of task force? And are members of Windsor Terrace residents and stuff involved so far in these conversations in the community benefits agreement? And then also,
Jeremy, I'm gonna forget all the questions if you keep going. So let me just answer
sure.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me answer one. Fifth Avenue Committee was brought in as an administrative entity. Community benefits agreements are extremely important because the city council, when we say we're getting 50% affordability, but only the ones that are part of the mandatory inclusionary housing are considered affordable in perpetuity. The other units that we're able to bring in are not. So in order to make sure that the landlord, the developer follows through on that, we need something in writing, bounded, so that they are held accountable. The city can't do that, but we have outside partners that do that and do that very well. And Fifth Avenue Committee is one that has done it. They are not coming up with the benefits, but this is primarily going to be around the height and the affordability. That has to be written because right now, they've been saying 13 stories as their original proposal. But if let's say theoretically the zoning stays as an R7 A, this is they could in theory build a 19-story, but having it written in a community benefits agreement helps us push back on that and hold them to their word. And then you asked about the task force. So the project is not going to be halted. There's going to be a vote on the project next month. There will be a construction task force that the developer will have to engage Windsor Terrace residents in. And usually in those task forces, I lead several of them in the district where rezonings are underway, to make sure that the agencies in operation during the construction period are attentive to the quality of life of the residents in the community, and that the plan, the work is going accordingly and not causing too much of a disturbance. Or if anything happens, like there's lots of rats or any other issues, we're able to intervene quicker as opposed to trying to find which bureaucrat we need to speak to solve that concern. Oh, and then I'll just finally add, I mean, one of the obstacles here, has been the community board voted the project down. And so that, that has certainly made it difficult for a wider conversation that could have been possible with the support, or like with an outcome that could have been with conditions that support the project. So right now we are not in a place, I would say, that any other community benefits agreement, there's not going to be any other community benefits agreement because of that. But the two that are most critical here are going to be height, going to be affordable units, because we have to hold them to account. Because again, anything beyond MIH is not they can turn into market rate unless we have it bound, and for it to be affordable in perpetuity. So I'm pushing for that, fighting for that, making sure that we get that. And we've done this in the Gowanus rezoning, similarly 56 community benefits agreements. But in that case, there was an approval with conditions. And so that's the latest on that.
So just quickly too, people have asked about, is this brought up in the conversation about taking out the 7 or 8 buildings that are in the zoning, being upzoned, because that's something, a condition that seems people.
Those are all, Jeremy, those are all the concerns, fully aware of. I can't give any more details right now, but yes, we are not going to be creating more issues and burdens for the units, the homes that are sandwiched in.
And so just finally, last question is that Fifth Avenue Committee, are they involved with the affordable housing component of it? Why they create the
No,
community
no, no.
benefits agreement?
No,
No.
they are not. No,
And
they are not. Because
no
again,
other entity will be a part of the community
no.
benefits agreement.
That's right. Because
Okay.
so going back to the affordable unit piece, housing preservation and development had already declined on wanting to be a part of this project. So let's say Fifth Avenue Committee wanted to be a part of the project, they would have to go through HPD, and HPD would have to approve them. So HPD has shared their concerns that this is not a neighborhood where they intend to have 100% affordable housing. They're looking at a more working class and Black and brown communities across the city, and so there is the additional affordability that we're going to bring in will be by negotiation, and we need to really hold their feet to the fire on this, because it is possible to get more affordability, but it needs to be in a CBA.
Thank you, Councilmember. We look forward to hearing more updates next month.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
Good night. I would like to call the, I almost said December, January board meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Jeremy will call the roll.
Evening, everyone. When I call your name, please acknowledge. If you're joining us on Zoom, please remember to unmute, acknowledge your name, and then mute again. If you are joining us on Zoom, your attendance counts, but you do not count towards quorum. Let's start with Diana Aguilar. Thank you. Grisel Amador. Thank you. Damian Andrade. Thank you. Jalea Bailey. Joan Body. Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Thank you. Jerry Chan.
Present.
Thank you. Jerry, you do not count towards quorum. Esteban Chavez. Thank you. Richard Codor.
Present.
Thank you. Richard, you do not count towards quorum. John DeLuper. Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio. Gabino Morales Escamilla. Thank you. Cynthia Felix. Thank you. Jamie Freed. Thank you. Ken Fung.
Present.
Thank you. Tony, you do not count towards quorum. Diana Gonzalez. Thank you. Hector Gonzalez. Kenny Guan. Thank you. Moshe Hecht. Nicole Huang. Thank you.
Present.
Thank you, Hector. Nicholas Jackson. Thank you. Dan Kaminsky. Thank you. Jeremy Kaplan. Thank you. Aaron Keith. Thank you. Wyco. Thank you. Barbara Lee. Christina Lem. Angie Lau. Paul Mack.
I'm here.
Thank you. Paul, you do not count towards quorum. Antoinette Martinez. Thank you. Jonathan Martinez. Thank you. Marilyn Melman. Rosie Moda.
Present.
Thank you. Rosie, you do not count towards quorum. Julio Pena III.
Present.
Thank you. Karen Rolnick. Thank you. Joanna Romero.
Present.
Thank you. Joanna, you do not count towards quorum. Nicole Ruiz. Patricia Ruiz? Thank you. Damaris Santiago?
Present.
Thank you. Damaris, you do not count towards quorum. Sam Sierra? Galina Sorma? Thank you. Faye Walker? Thank you. Catherine Walsh? Thank you. Cesar Zuniga? Twenty-seven in the room. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to adoption of the agenda as presented. Is there a motion to adopt? Motion by Damian, seconded by Joan. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda is so adopted. Moving to adoption of the minutes of the December 18th, 2024 board meeting. Is there a motion to adopt?
There's an amendment, wait, Damien has a comment.
You have a comment on the agenda?
I guess I don't know how to proceed in like how to edit that, like to strike a word that was mentioned last meeting.
State what you'd like to
I would
be
like to
amended.
strike down Barbara's words from last meeting when she recalled that she doesn't believe that I did not care about immigrants. Thank you.
Can you point to where in the minutes that is stated?
Yeah. She was mentioning how she was talking about like how she was helping immigrants, and then she just made like a comment at the end saying that if it
I
wasn't
don't
picked up,
believe that was
perfect,
picked up in
but I
the
just wanted to
minutes,
strike.
but thank you for raising that. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from December 18th? Motion by Pat,
Second.
seconded by Cynthia. Is there any objection to adopting the minutes from December 18th? Seeing or hearing none, the minutes are adopted. Moving to public comment, is there a member of the public who wishes to speak on an item on the agenda tonight? Just wait for the microphone, Jorge. Go ahead, 3 minutes.
Hey, thanks everyone. Buenas noches. Good evening, everyone. Here's a Sunset Park resident tonight. I think I know a lot of y'all, been through a lot of I'm here because you have an item on the agenda about the New York For All Act, right? Separating New York police from federal police. And obviously in 5 days, as a white nationalist, my view, kind of a criminal government that we've already lived through once before. We've seen in this neighborhood what they've done. Kidnapped, separated, created a lot of violence. A lot of y'all probably remember, it wasn't even 4 years ago that they shot someone in the face in Brooklyn, totally unrelated to who they were trying to get. Maybe a lot of y'all forgot because of the coronavirus pandemic. I didn't forget. Anyway, this bill, right, I think y'all printed it out in the prior meeting. It's a good bill. Should go even further because, I think as that incident pointed out, from what I saw and from what I heard, New York City police were aiding and abetting Trump's ICE under the current laws. So if anything, doesn't go far enough in my point of view. And so I just say, yes, it's good that this board seems like they're going to vote to support it. Seems like that committee did that and recommended it. I think it's an essential piece of law and hope to see more leadership from this board on this issue. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Jorge. Is there any other member of the public who wishes to speak on an item on the agenda? Okay. Moving on to elected officials report. Are there two?
No. This is the list.
Thank you. Francesca from Senator Gennardis's office, followed by John from Congressman Goldman's office.
No, you don't have to give it back to me. Just hit the mute button. Okay.
And Happy New Year. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Francesca. I am Senator Andrew Bernardis's scheduler. But for those of you who do, it's lovely to see your faces again. I'm gonna start off with the fun things. We're doing our annual Valentine's Day cards for seniors. So please, if you know any schools or if you feel like submitting any, please just send them to our office. And we send them to our local senior centers to put a smile on everyone's face. We have our district survey that we're doing this year. We're gonna do it for about a month, so it's gonna close probably like mid-February, I want to say. We'll see how many submissions we get. But we would love to hear from everybody in New York State Senate District 26, what you want to see, what you've been happy with, what you haven't been happy with. Let us have it. The QR code in the poster is out in the front. Unfortunately, it seems like the SNAP scam has been coming back and people are getting the money taken off of their cards. So please, if you're having a problem with it, please contact our office so we can assist and we can advocate for you. I really want them to open that portal back up so not everybody has to wait and go through EBT Edge for a million years. But we are here to help any folks that you know who are having problems with their cards. Please have them reach out to us or their representative. And then we're also doing free tax prep services for anybody who's in Senator Gennardis's district or Councilman Brandon's district. It will be at Councilman Brandon's office in Bay Ridge, so 8203 3rd Ave. If that's not too far from you and you make under $93K a year, please grab a slot. Separately, I wanted to give a slight legislative Albany update since we are starting the new 2025 legislative session. New York for All, of course, it is Andrew's bill, but it is a huge priority to us. We were really happy to join, the whole staff actually, really happy to join the first rally in Albany on the $1 Million Staircase on the first day of session in support of New York for All. We really have to protect our neighbors, our families, our loved ones, and keep families together, especially. So that is definitely a priority for us this session, as well as expanding the working families tax credit. So as a little reminder, that'll be up to $1,600 per child, and we're looking for that to grow with inflation. So if 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it would grow with inflation so that families are still getting an adequate amount of help to really help them keep food on the table, keep their kids clothed, fed, and all that fun stuff. My day has been around the Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act today, so I could word vomit right now, but I will save you from that. But that is another one of our huge priorities this year in Albany, just to keep more affordable housing and then also to empower all of our favorite faith organizations so that they can use all the land that they have to house people. Minimum 4 units per building. And if you want the specifics of that, please come bother me. And then also to protect kids online, and also the CREEP Act, which is Ceasing Repeated and Extremely Egregious Predatory Behavior Act. And it's really helping to protect our victims of harassment, especially those who are facing it virtually, whether it be cyber stalking, revenge porn, deep fakes, doxing, all that nightmarish stuff. We want to get some protections into legislation on the state level, and we hope to get that accomplished. I will stop talking. But if you need anything, please call us anytime. Please email us. Yes, sorry.
Sorry, and I'm the one that's telling people they should use the mic. In
Sorry.
regard to your Valentine's Day cards for seniors, are you also including the senior housings in the community to receive Valentine's Day cards? We have 2 here. Ms. Maria Heim of Sunset Park, of which I'm on their board, and we have the Sunset Gardens, and there's Harbor Hill, and then we have our wonderful senior center, Griselle. So I wasn't sure if that was something that is on your list.
United typically does get our cards. Yes.
Wonderful. But I would hope
No,
that
that's a
you would
great
include the
idea.
senior
Yeah.
housings from this community. And the other thing that I was curious about, I know you guys are working on housing too. We need housing for seniors, that there is no room in
Yeah.
any of the ones that are here. It's a shame. You have to wait for someone to pass away to get an apartment. So if there's anything that you guys can do to help to get more senior housing, I know housing is important for all, but as people get older,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
housing is needed.
That's a big worry in my personal life as well. So I can assure you that that is something we talk about on a weekly basis in my office. Because at the end of the day, your average New Yorker, as they are aging, they cannot afford an apartment, especially if we're looking at apartments that are studios for 3,500.
Can't
It's
afford,
criminal.
can't afford the rent and are not eligible for scree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately. That's definitely a big focus of the Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act to make sure that seniors are worked into that and it's affordable for seniors as well. I will re-up the concern though.
Thank you
for
very much.
sure. Of course, of course.
Thank you, Francesca.
Uh,
John, then followed by Alicia from Reynoso's office, or President Reynoso's office. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So my name is John Blasco. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for Congressmember Dan Goldman. You usually see Myra Molina here. She's on a well-deserved time off and will be back for the next board meeting. So thank you to the board and Happy New Year to everyone. Just a few updates. I think many of you know already, but our district office is now located in Sunset Park. It's located at 254 36th Street in Industry City. And the suite number is B329. Just like our Manhattan office, if you need assistance with a federal matter, just give our office a call. If we need to schedule an appointment, we can do so. So I wanted to give that update. I wanted to give another update that we are hosting an event at the Sunset Park Library on January 30th with Oath to go over any summonses that people are having. So we're talking about Department of Transportation summonses, Department of Sanitation. There's a whole list of them. I have some flyers here. We're going to do the event in English and in Spanish. So if anyone has questions about that, I'm going to be here throughout the whole meeting. You can ask me any questions you have. And I think that's it for now. If anyone has questions for me.
Jerry, I see your hand up.
Thank you. The question I had for all the elected official representative, right? Lunar New Year is coming up at the end of the month this year. This one, is there any events happening from the elected official to celebrate the lunar holiday on January 30th?
I'll start with that since I'm up here. Jerry, thanks for the question. I know some of our organizations, especially in South Brooklyn, like Parent-Child Relationship, like Chinese American Planning Council, like BCA, do a lot of great events that we usually attend. But I'm more than happy to talk about doing our own. Jerry, I'm more than happy to talk to you about planning something if you're interested.
Thank you, Jerry. Katie, question from Katie.
Light will turn green.
Nope, now
There
it's
we go.
working. Sorry, I do think I get the hand of this. The question is, so for the congressperson, knowing that we're walking into the Trump administration, what steps is the congressman taking for all of the various concerns that are going to be impacting this community as a result?
I appreciate that question. And just this week, for folks that were watching, the Lakin-Riley Act was voted on and was passed in the House. The congressman voted against it, but it's basically an act that will, if a migrant is accused of a crime, they will just risk deportation. And it's just an attack on our immigrant community here in New York City and across the United States.
Sorry, let him finish the question. Please continue, John.
I'll get to you right after. But our delegation has been talking. I want to be very honest in saying we've been getting a lot of requests saying, can you come to our organization and talk to folks, talk to members here about what we can do to push back on the Trump administration, because we've been through it before, right? Although I don't think it's going to be like before. I think it's going to be worse. And I think the honest truth is that we go into those conversations talking about what we think will happen, especially for those who are maybe going to immigration court, and how when folks come to us to seek assistance, the processing times right now are long. We think they're going to be longer, right? But we can't really speak to at this moment all the the policies that are going to be in place because we don't know what they are yet. So that is the honest truth that I have been having with organizations and community groups and institutions when they invite us to come to that space. We do go to the space to listen in and take it back to the delegation and to leader Hakeem Jeffries. But the honest truth is that we can't really speak to it because we don't know what policies are going to be in place. But we can learn from our past, right? So that's sort of where we are right now. And I deeply want to be in communication with the folks at this community board about what we should be and can be doing.
Thank you, John. Alicia from BP Reynos's office. Questions from board members only. Alicia, followed by Edward from Councilmember Velisa's office.
It's great to see you all again in the new year. My name is Alicia, if we haven't met already. I hope everyone had a great holidays if you celebrated. Happy Three Kings Day, belated. So today I have a few short updates, so I'll keep short and sweet. So as you all know, community board applications are open again, which our office helps run, which is the Office of the Brooklyn Borough President Reynoso. So if you have any interviews coming up, if your position you are replying, I'll be going and talking to you. Please encourage anyone and everyone you know to apply. And yeah, thank you so much for all the work that you do so far. Also, in other news, with the new year, we have our financial year 26 allocations that are coming up. So if you know of any nonprofits, any cultural institutions, public schools, city agencies who have a project coming up that you're interested in going and getting support with, please feel free to reach out. On our website, we have information on our application for funding, and there's helpful workshops aligned, or an introduction on how to go and do the application. So we encourage you to go and look at that. In upcoming news, this Wednesday, we're having an event with the Department of Buildings in Cypress Hills that will help homeowners who have summons on their homes go and relieve those summons. So it's completely free. It's one-on-one appointments with Department of Buildings. So we're looking forward to going and helping people there. We also, starting January 13th until May 12th, you can speak with a Borough President Constituent Service representative in person at the Cordell U branch at the Brooklyn Public Library every other Monday, and staff will be there from 10 a.m. till 5:30 each Monday through May. And then two more. So at the end of the month, January 31st, we're hosting an event with the Taxi and Limousine Commission, and it will be at Brooklyn Borough Hall, and it's called Van Halen. So it's for any taxi drivers, any people who work with cars to go and come in, answer questions, and offer help with any common questions that come up. And then finally, on February 20th, we're hosting, along with the New York City Department of Finance, a homeowners benefit workshop. So go and help homeowners to lower their property taxes. And again, we'll be at Brooklyn Borough Hall in downtown Brooklyn. The event will be from 5 to 8 p.m. and on February 20th. And there's flyers for everything that I discussed over there on the table. So please feel free to come and talk to me if you have any questions about the events or anything else, and I'm happy to answer. And that is all for me.
Thank you, Alicia. Edward Cerner from Councilmember Avilas's office, followed by Emmett from Assemblymember Matena's office.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Edward Cerna, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Alexa Avilas. I'm going to start today with a summary of some like the work that the council office did in 2024. It was a very busy year for us. Just some quick data points, which I'll just quickly say is going to be expanded on in our newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for it, please sign up. But last year we served over 1,300 constituents in the office. Over 60% of our cases involved assisting constituents to address housing insecurity, food insecurity, and the need for social assistance services. So That just speaks to how much of a high need we are in this community and why it's instrumental that we're doubling down on investments on helping folks, stay above water at this point. We spent a total of 176 hours in the community during our mobile office hours. That includes office hours in Red Hook, in Bensonhurst, and in Diker Heights. So we thank our partners at the Brooklyn Public Library, the Red Hook Initiative, and the Federation of Italian Organizations, because the district is quite large and we're trying to bring government to the people and meet them where they're at. On the legislative front, the council member passed 3 bills and introed 41. One that we're really proud of that I'll just mention quickly is Intro 0006, which I've spoken about here before. We had a string of fires in the community and folks are being displaced, don't know what resources are available to them, what rights they have, and now that law requires the Department of Housing and Preservation to issue the packets of information to folks once that happened. And so that's something that was informed by our very real experience here and just speaks to the council member listening to the needs and reacting to the problems as they come up. We tabled at over 154 community events. And funding-wise, we secured $4 million for renovations of Martin Luther Playground, which if you lived in the community has not seen a single dime of capital investment for decades. We've secured $1.5 million for renovations to McKinley Library and over $5 million for capital funding for public schools. So we're excited about this year and doubling down on the work we've been doing, which leads into my next readout, which is her role as immigration chair. It's been already mentioned several times during this meeting that, there's an incoming administration that has to end mass deportations, alongside a mayor who, instead of uplifting and holding strong the line of our values as a city, has said that wants to explore executive orders to circumvent the sanctuary laws that exist currently in our city. And so tomorrow, the council member is going to be chairing a hearing with a rally at 9 a.m., which you're all welcome to attend on the steps of City Hall, to really dig down onto, this ambivalence that we are hearing from the administration. On the one side, we have certain agencies that said they will support sanctuary laws, and then we have a mayor who's saying that he's using, again, executive orders to circumvent it. So we're going to be asking tough questions to the administrations. Please tune in, and if you have some concerns, also sign up to testify, as is your right. And then to more happier things, our discretionary and capital portals are open. So if you know of a CBO who's interested in applying for city council funding, now is the time to apply. Lastly, and my colleague at the senator's office mentioned it, we are entering tax season, but as has been the practice in our office since our tenure, we are going to be partnering up with Grow NYC to provide free tax services throughout the duration of the tax season. I don't have a flyer for that yet because they're waiting on some information from the federal government as to when the tax filing season the online portal will open. But that'll be forthcoming, and I'll make sure that gets circulated to the board so that they can send it out to their listserv. So thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Question from Barbara.
Hi. I have a question. Carlos Machanka has come to our board meetings, quite a few times during his tenure as our councilman. And I'm just wondering when Councilperson Aviles will come here. 'Cause I think I've seen her maybe once or twice in a while.
Fair request. I'll bring it back to the office.
Thank you.
And really.
Thank you, Barbara. Question from Antoinette.
Hi, I'm just curious if there's any money available in the budget that can fund the old library space. I'm not sure exactly what it's being used for now, except for possibly storage. But if there is any funding available, that way that space can be used for the community.
So my understanding is that space is owned and operated by the NYPD. There were several community members that reached out to the council office about maintaining that space for a public facing operation or programming versus what you just say, which I wouldn't disagree with. I think it's just sitting there. The NYPD has said that they were mandated or instructed by the mayoral administration to lower their footprint. So any rented spaces, things of that sort, again, like cost-cutting measures to lower their footprint, and so they say that they want to hold on to that space. Happy to take any suggestions and forward it to administration. I think Anastasia is the borough director now. And you could also reach out to the mayoral office and relay like what you would like to see with that space. But NYPD, it's the mayor's office.
etc., because they want us to have people in here. But if we have overflow, where are we going to put them?
Yeah, we're in full alignment and agreement.
And no disrespect the community too, but we're in this building. The staff is in this building. They don't even get respect for, I'm not going to say the word, to put light bulbs. It's a shame. It's a shame. The staff here, they are city employees as well, and they're being disrespected.
I'll take that feedback as well. And yeah, um, I think the council member's position is in agreement. I think in alignment. We don't want to see that space just being used for storage. If they're going to use it as you say. But right now, again, agreement that it's not being used for very much of anything, and we would like to see that space activated.
Thank you, Edward. Emmett from Assemblymember Mateus's office.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emmett. I am the Chief of Staff to Assemblymember Marcelo Martinez, representing Sunset Park, parts of Park Slope, and parts of Borough Park and Red Hook as well. Thank you for here. Just wanted to share a couple of updates. As everyone's aware, there's a couple of laws that have been implemented since the start of the new year, such as the new minimum wage, which has also been recently tied to inflation. There's also the new law regarding the cap of $0 on the insulin prescriptions. If you're covered, if you're not sure you're covered, make sure to check in with your health insurance provider just to make sure that you are. And then lastly, as everyone know, congestion pricing recently just came into law. There are some programs for some discounts. One of the programs are for individuals who are below a certain income threshold. You're able to qualify for a 50% discount. Also, another discount applies for people with disability. In order to prove your disability, you have to show your disabled parking, I believe, permit in order to be able to qualify for those. So there are options for individuals who are looking to seek a discount who may not be able to afford the current tolls that has been implemented as part of the program. Next thing that's coming up right now as well, so I want to focus on some legislative and fiscal priorities for the assembly member. As you all know, the state of the state was given by the governor yesterday in Albany. There were a couple of good initiatives that were included, but there are some things that we are going to continue fighting for moving forward. The first thing regarding to housing, as our Senate colleague representative mentioned, housing is a really strong issue in this neighborhood. It has been the top issue in our office for the last 5 years. One of the things that we're looking forward to is, in addition to making sure that the cost of living is reduced, is also exploring and advocating for a voucher program for individuals who are currently facing huge pressures of displacement. We want to find ways to make sure that we keep people home, housed, and families together, because we know right now the ongoing housing crisis, especially in the housing courts, have been overfilled. There's a lot of backlog in cases. We want to make sure that we're moving people from the shelter system into permanently affordable housing. So one of these programs that we're pushing forward is the Housing Access Voucher Program, which will also, if people don't know, doesn't have a requirement for immigration restrictions. So everyone in the community will be able to benefit from this. People will be able to stay home or housed, and people will be able to stay in their communities. Something that we're also moving forward on, as our colleague Francesca mentioned, is that SNAP and cash assistance fraud and scamming continues to be an issue for the last 3 years here in this district. Unfortunately, the deadline for people to apply for reimbursements has expired last month. So something that we need to do as a state is actually step up and actually try to meet that and fill in that gap. We're looking forward to hopefully advocating this year with our colleagues to create a compensation fund so that people who unfortunately were not able to apply on time are able to get that money refunded, but also pushing for increased security measures such as asking New York State to tap into the federal program and to allow the EBT cards to have the security chip that some states have already started to implement. That way, we can also prevent further SNAP skimming and fraud from happening from moving forward. And lastly, in regards to immigration, there's so many priorities that are currently out there. We were proud, and the Assembly was proud to be part of the last two immigration rallies that took place this week and last week on making sure that we fight against mass deportation. Top priorities in regards to that legislation is the bill that Senator Gernardus is carrying, New York for All Act. We're also pushing for access for representation, making sure that if individuals are being sent to immigration court, they have the ability to get a free counsel so that they're able to fight off against deportation. And then also increasing dignity, not detention, which will mandate that New York State doesn't work with private for-profit prison systems in New York State. In addition to that, we're also exploring possible legislation to codify the 2014 Cuomo executive order, which will allow employers the right to ask ICE officers for a warrant or a court order. Right now, that's only been issued as an executive order, but we want to make sure that we codify it so that at least employers feel empowered to say, like, show me, the court order, so that in case if ICE does show up, it gives them at least an extra day or at least some time for families to be able to, get their things together, look for the loved ones, and stay protected. Even if it's extra time, we think that more time is better than no time at all. Other than that, in regards to the environmental front, we're going to keep pushing for the Clean Deliveries Act. We're getting good news. It passed the Senate last session. Earlier this year, no, in December last year, we were visited by the Assembly Environmental Conservation Chair, Deborah Glick, to visit our district. We were able to visit facilities within Red Hook and Sunset Park, and the conversations look good. It looks like this might be a priority for the Assembly. We're going to have continued ongoing conversations with the governor's office, and for people who don't know the Clean Deliveries Act, it's a permitting process to help regulate last mile distribution centers like Amazon, FedEx, UPS, which have historically opened up in communities of colors that have been redlined in these industrial facilities. And then lastly, on the environmental front, we're happy to hear that the governor is going to be pushing for 15 gigawatts by 2030. We want to make sure that we actually get to those points before then because of the stuff that is happening in California and the recent jobs that we see here in New York. We need to make sure that this transition comes with complete unionized jobs, but also we want to push and we're exploring ways of making sure how do we make sure that whatever comes on the future, especially on this waterfront, in regards to renewable energy, we create the opportunities for communities to be able to access that. So we're trying to find ways of how, as a state, we could create programs to fund and empower our local communities to be able to create like positions, job training, so that people in this community are able to get trained and be able to access those jobs on the waterfront as well. Beyond that, any questions, concerns?
Question from Jeremy Kaplan.
Would you talk a little bit about, I know there's been a couple hearings on it, it's a major ordeal, but the marine terminal development, and then I know Marcella and Alexa have held some hearings on that. And how far along is the process for that? In case people aren't aware, like they swapped the marine terminal in Red Hook and for location, and now they're going to have a large development, like 7,000 to 9,000 units of housing that they're proposing in that area, and so they just started to have hearings about that. And I'm curious, like the council members, it seems like have, or I know Alexa has said that, concern about protecting the industrial business zone. Where is the process for that, and what is the engagement points, and what is the assembly members' thoughts on the plan so far currently? Like, not just keeping and maintaining the port, but the fact that they claim that they have to fund it through this housing mechanism. That's the goal, is that they say it costs $2 billion to keep the funding, basically the maritime industrial uses of it costs $2 billion that they say they need to subsidize. So the rationale is that they need to build this massive amount of housing, 7,000 to 9,000 units.
Sure. I'm assuming you're talking about the Brooklyn Marine Terminal in Red Hook and the Columbia Waterfront development district. It's just an FYI for anyone who's not aware. Recently, earlier last year, um, New York State and the city reached an agreement between the governor and the mayor to swap two pieces of land. One was in the Brooklyn waterfront, Red Hook, and along the right next to the Brooklyn Bridge Park, which was formerly owned by the New York, New Jersey Port Authority. Unfortunately, has been facing historical disinvestment to a point of deterioration. And the state swapped that with the I'm unfamiliar with the name of the Staten Island terminal, but they swapped it. That was city owned, so there's been a change. But part of that agreement was that that property, the part of the exchange for the Brooklyn side front is going to go under a GPP plan, which is a state-led process for the state and the city to seek monetary funding to revitalize the waterfronts on both properties, but specifically the one here in Brooklyn. I can't speak much to the council member's office position, but I'll defer that to Edward here. In regards to public hearings, there's been a couple of public meetings that EDC has led, that our office has been participating on, and I believe we're still early in the process of trying to figure out what our role will be. There's been at least 5 um, task force meetings that the assembly member is a part of. We're not part of the executive task force, but we are part of the greater body on that. And in regard to the housing situation, nothing has been finite. The information is not concretely set in place. We know that in regards to the position of housing, the assembly member right now, at the moment, we know that the city's having a housing crisis, but at the moment, with what is being proposed on the waterfront, we have no position on that because there's still there hasn't been any concrete details of what's being proposed. What I would suggest is that there are a couple of more public sessions taking place, and I would encourage the public to please visit the EDC website and participate on that. Every elected official, every group that's participating has different views and different positions on what could possibly be created on that waterfront. The assembly member's position is that we want to make sure that it continues to be a working waterfront that is able to provide accessible working class jobs and middle class jobs to the communities that live here as well.
Thank you, Emmett. And just to clarify, BMT is in Community District 6, not in Community District 7, but we care greatly about what happens along our entire Brooklyn waterfront, as that has implications for us in this community. So I would encourage people to attend those workshops. Joining us on Zoom, Serena Chu from Assemblymember Chang's office.
Serena, you can unmute yourself.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I am the Constituent Service Manager for Assemblyman Lester Chang. Our office, first of all, I want to tell you, our office is located at 6904 Hamilton Parkway. I deal with a lot of constituent concerns in the community. So first of all, I want to thank Captain Hui for speaking at the very beginning of the meeting. And I want to inform everyone that Assemblyman Chang just started his session up in Albany, and he will be sponsoring some bills that he'll be reading, and I will give that more of that information in the next meeting. We will be having an oath event at our office on February 6th. So if you have any questions regarding a summit, please feel free to visit our office from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on that day when the Commissioner of Oath will be at our office speaking. And recently, there has been a lot of SNAP fraud cases going around, and this is happening every single day that a constituent comes into our office and they complain that I have money stolen, I have $300 stolen, I have $500 stolen. And this is a big concern for Assemblyman Chang as well as a lot of family members. And unfortunately, the SNAP HRA has expired their reimbursement last year on December 20th. However, Assemblyman Chang is having a meeting and we'll be having an event sometime around February 18. Nothing is set in stone yet. We'll be having a meeting and we'll having every people come to our event meeting event to answer some SNAP case questions, anything regarding SNAP. And this is a big issue going on that we're dealing with. Okay, so there are three important issues that Assemblyman Chang would like me to discuss. Is that first of all, Miss Vivian Barreto, she lost her father to an suspended license vehicle driver, and he was driving a moped on Sunset Park, and he hit Mr. Barreto, and Mr. Barreto died 3 days later, and he had a serious brain injury. So Assemblyman Chang is actually supporting the bill for in regards to Ms. Barreto, and the bill is just talks about if anyone with a suspended license kills a person, a pedestrian, the felony is not just a simple felony, is I believe it will be a Class A felony if I'm not mistaken. And Assemblyman Chang is holding Miss Vivian Barreto's hand in regards to her father's loss and the bill that he is sponsoring. Second of all, nationwide school choices is something that the president spoke about. So Assemblyman Chang is actually pushing for school choices in New York, and he's signing a bill regarding school choices that parents will be allowed to put their child in whatever school they want to put their child in. And yes, and let's talk about the good thing. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope you got what you wished for and still holding on to your New Year's resolution. And second of all, I want to wish everyone, if you celebrate the lunar holiday, happy Lunar New Year to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena. Any other elected officials I missed virtually or in the room? I don't think I missed anyone here in the room. Okay. Moving on to our committee reports, starting with transportation, and John will be delivering the report.
All right. Evening, everyone. Last week, we had our Transportation Committee meeting. One note, because there was no heat in the building, the meeting had to go online and be a virtual meeting. We still discussed a lot of things, but because of that, that means we weren't able to conduct any votes. So some of the items we'll be mentioning here as floor votes, and when that time comes, I may ask for help from Jeremy explaining the process. So during that meeting, we had several discussions. We had discussions on a proposal to co-name 17th Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue to Donna Maxwell's Way. We had dining out applications for the Black Horse Pub, Psycho or Sicko, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and Hamilton's. And we also had a presentation from Uprose on the Sunset Park Greenway, and we had a discussion of the committee's priorities for the upcoming year. So going into a little more detail on some of those, starting with the co-naming proposal for 17th Street, co-naming it Donna Maxwell's Way. We had a presentation from Yvonne Hirela, Aida Montero, and Melissa Ansarevich on behalf of the proposal. They discussed Donna Maxwell's work and her impact at PS 124, her community activities, including serving as president of the 72nd Precinct Community Council, her activities fundraising in support of cancer charities, and hosting block parties and other community events. Maxwell's dedication inspired many of her neighbors to enter service professions such as teaching and law enforcement, and many people, including Detective McGrath and many, many neighbors, came out to testify and leave comments in support of the co-naming process. Now, those of you who've been around for a while know that we've had many co-namings over the years, and during the co-naming process, we seek out biographical details and statements of support and signatures from residents on the block. Some of those materials are included in the packet that was emailed to all of you. Typically, we do our hearing and we do our vote, and then it is passed to the city council. In this time, we were informed by Chairperson Pena that Actually, the council member's office got this before we did and already voted on it. Nevertheless, the committee spent a lot of time on this, discussing it, and we really wanted to show our support on this. So we're hoping to take a vote at this meeting, and I'd like to introduce a motion to support the co-naming of 17th Street in honor of Donna Maxwell.
I second.
Thank you.
Please say the name, because
It was motioned by John, seconded by Cynthia Felix. Is there discussion on the motion to co-name 17th Street Donna Maxwell's Way? Between 3rd and 4th. Thank you. Jeremy? Seeing no microphone.
But the board could no longer move forward with renaming streets. Has that changed?
That the board could no longer, can you,
I thought the process changed. Where it was like more official with the city, because during COVID, there were a number of folks from the community. Can you hear me?
no, I can hear you, yeah.
There were a number of folks from the community who had requested that streets be named after them. And then I remember it just sort of, there was a pause on it. And I recall there being an email being circulated saying that the process had changed, but I'm not sure, maybe I misunderstood.
So I don't know if there was a pause per se, but we did specifically work with Councilmember Avilas's office to streamline and memorialize memorialize is not the right word, formalize the process for street co-naming. So there is guidance that the city council has, because they're the ones who introduced the legislation. And then there is an application and signature requirements and like letters of recommendation. So like we have a packet that we provide to anyone who seeks, bless you, seeks co-renaming for a street in our district.
And it still has to go to city council. The city council is the official person. It's just a recommendation from the committee that they support it, but it's still a vote at the city council level.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, is there any objection to approving the co-naming of 17th Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue, Donald Maxwell's Way? Seeing or hearing none, the motion is passed unanimously. Thank you, John.
Well, moving on, I wanted to talk about the dining out applications. And we had 3 applications under consideration. Those applications were from Black Horse Pub at 568, but well, there were 3 of them, but I'll start with the one from Hamilton's, who we were able to speak to the owner and representative during the meeting. The representatives from Hamilton's wanted to actually submit an application for both a sidewalk cafe and a roadway cafe. However, as we've spoken about several times, the city's outdoor dining regulations are confusing and weird. And thanks to the timelines, we were only able to consider the sidewalk cafe, which gives us 40 days, whereas the other one gave us only 30 days and we weren't able to schedule a meeting to consider the roadway. Since we didn't consider it, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, it goes to a hearing at the Department of Transportation, and when that happens, information is often sent out so that members who do have interest can leave their opinions on that. So, in terms of Hamilton's, they appeared before us. They discussed their plans, which would include sidewalk seating of 12 tables, including 24 seats on Fort Hamilton Parkway side and 11 tables with 22 seats on the 4th Street side. In the documentation that was sent out, their application is included on page 30 to 37. The committee members had questions and they reported that they have had no complaints from their neighbors. They will amend their liquor license as per dining out program rules. Committee members asked about whether there was plans for additional security or changes to pedestrian traffic flow in the area, and they reported that they did not plan to have those. Since we because we were online, we didn't have a quorum, but like with the street co-naming, we asked our members their opinions, and we called it a straw poll, and the members voted for this via unanimous consent. And with that in mind, I would like to introduce a motion to support the dining out application for Hamilton's, and I'm hoping for a second.
Seconded by Joan. Is there discussion on the motion to approve the dining out application for Hamilton's? Do you have the address?
Yes, so Hamilton's is at 2826 Fort Hamilton Parkway, and they're also known as Lula Enterprises.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Antoinette?
Is that my question? Oh, just to clarify, for Hamilton, they're requesting two sites. Can you just explain a little bit more about, I guess, like the square footage outside of the space that they're asking for?
Sure. So Hamilton's did apply for both a sidewalk cafe permit and a roadway cafe permit. We've spoken about many of these outdoor dining applications since the process was reformed, and the process is very tricky and weird in a lot of ways. One way that is tricky and weird is that when you apply separately for your roadway cafe and your sidewalk cafe, and you have different amounts of time that are given for each of those. Roadway cafes can only be reviewed for 30 days, while sidewalk cafes are given 40 days. The 30-day timeline from when we received the application for their roadway cafe was before this meeting, so we were unable to weigh in on that regard. The sidewalk cafe, I think, is until Friday, or maybe it's Thursday, the 19th, yeah. So we are able to weigh in on that if
We're
we
only
so
voting
desire.
on the sidewalk cafe.
So this is, yeah, we're only voting on the sidewalk cafe.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I would like to approve this motion by unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the dining out application for Hamilton's? Seeing or hearing none, the motion is adopted.
Okay, we had two other dining out applications under consideration. We had a sidewalk cafe for Black Horse next. Their owner, after the board office contacted them, their owner had noted that they were ill and unable to attend that meeting. However, they said that they had hoped to be here and able to present today. So if they are, I would like to give them a few minutes to talk about their application, if that's okay with the chair. Okay.
I just did that. Thank you. He has the microphone. Yep. Speak into the microphone.
Hello? Okay.
Yes.
My application is really a continuation of the one we've had for the last 12 years. They've made the process a bit more difficult. The only difference from now is the footprint is actually a lot smaller. I mean, I took some pictures of, you want to see what it'll look like. That's what we have at the moment. It's pretty much going to stay the same, just a few more tables added. But the footprint will be the same as that. It's basically 8 tables, 16 chairs. And it's on the front of 5th Avenue and 16th Street. We're not going down. So it's on 5th Avenue. We're not going down the side street.
So just to clarify, this is, you have existing seating, and this is just to continue the seating for Black Horse Pub.
We have to redo the process after COVID.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
like to add that we did pass out the complete, sorry. I'd like to add we did pass out the complete application in the documents that were emailed to the board before this. So if you'd like to, if you have that on hand and you'd like to review it, we put it on pages 17 to 23. So with that in mind, I would like, given that the owner has appeared before us, answered questions, I'd like to motion to support the dining out application for Black Horse at 568 Fifth Avenue.
Seconded by Damien. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing or hearing none, I would like to approve this via unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the dining out application for Black Horse Pub? Seeing or hearing none, so approved. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Finally, we did have one other application, but I wanted to check if they're here as well. And I'm unsure of the pronunciation, whether it's Psycho or Sicko at 126 Windsor Place. Sicko? Thank you, Diana. Okay.
Microphone, Joan, 1 second.
I know at our meeting, they had not responded. Have they responded now?
Or responded since then?
They were contacted and there was no response from the owner. They were not here. They did not answer any correspondence. Have they as of today? Well,
They
then I
have not.
make a motion to disapprove.
Motion to disapprove. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Pat. The motion is to, Pat, Cynthia,
And I just would like to clarify, would be on the basis of them not attending the meeting, not responding to the correspondence from the board, right, Joan? Yes, as policy.
thank you, Cynthia Felix.
That first.
Okay, the motion is to disapprove the application for Seco Restaurant on the basis that they did not attend or respond to any communication. Is there discussion on the motion? And I see, oh, Katie.
So I think what I would say is I don't know, Jeremy, I don't know if they were invited to this board meeting. So I know you had been inviting them to the meeting that we had last week, and then it was cold, and then you contacted them to say it moved online, but I don't know if they were invited to this meeting. The reason Black Horse is here is because, well, they weren't able to come, and then we told them, please come to tonight's meeting, right? And then we did see Hamilton's because they showed up last week. So I just want to kind of introduce that context because I think it's really important.
Thank you, Katie. Jeremy, were they invited directly to this meeting?
So they weren't given a specific invitation, but they were aware of this meeting if they looked at their emails, because they should have gotten a general agenda for this meeting. They did not respond to any emails that we sent. DOT did not supply us with a phone number for them, so we called and left messages on their business line. We looked it up, but we have not been in contact with them.
Microphone,
Just finish my thought just to say, like, this dining out program we have talked about in the board before. We gave a lot of feedback before they introduced this process because it's very problematic. And I would like, we're experiencing it in real time. And so I just want to like use this as an example to say that, you know, I don't know much about this business and the owners, and I just, I think engagement, I think, right, like we've talked about, John had sent out a article to our transportation committee about like articles that have been done about the disproportionate impact of the kinds of businesses that are getting the dining out applications. And John can speak to it more, but it's like there's huge equity considerations So I just want to say that I would, in the discussion, I think what I'm getting at is, I don't know what I'm introducing, but like, I don't know if I think we should disapprove it, but it just doesn't seem like the right thing to do on this because of the larger issue of this program. I know we're just recommending it, but I just like, I don't think
Doesn't their
setting a precedent.
Julio, even if we disapprove, they can still submit their application, correct?
So we have not, and Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, please. We have not submitted any disapproval for dining out and their DOT approving it or disapproving. I don't know if I'm making any sense. The dining out application is still fairly new. Have any applications that we denied or not approved still moved forward with DOT? Okay. But I believe we only disapprove, we haven't even disapproved any, I think, to this point.
I believe one was just withdrawn. I don't
Okay.
John, I do have a question. What is the what is the time? I know you said it's 30 days, so where are they in that timeline?
I think Jeremy just said the 19th is the same deadline.
So the 19th.
Can I want to add one
Ever.
other point? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's also an option of not taking
No
any
action.
and then it can go to the DOT hearing
That's
and
fine
people
then.
can.
I'd like to motion for the no action.
So why don't we do a friendly amendment? Joan, while you were gone, we discussed if we could do a friendly amendment and do no action for that restaurant instead of not approving.
They should have responded. Every other application has responded, and it has been our practice that even when there's a liquor license, if they don't come to meetings and if they don't respond, and now that Jeremy has said that they have not even responded to emails, which is not very businesslike.
I hear you, Joan. To clarify, we have a motion on the floor to disapprove. Jeremy, if we do not say anything, DOT will hold themselves a hearing on the approval of the dining out application. Is that correct?
We have to give them something in writing. It might say, we take no position and ask that DOT holds a public hearing. But we have to say something in order for them to have a public hearing.
A clarifying question, will they also, or have they also submitted an update to the liquor license?
There is no liquor
So
license.
they don't have any alcohol there, so they will not be applying for one. Okay.
Diana?
So I had Seco for lunch today.
So you're the expert on
It's
Seacom.
very good. I've talked to the owners numerous times. They're lovely people. It's a family-run business. When they first opened, we had an issue where whenever they opened the cellar door on the street, they didn't put the cone out. And I raised the issue with the owners, and they actually ended up building an entire enclosure around that so they could go up and downstairs without making the sidewalk more dangerous. I'm surprised to hear that we've had trouble getting in touch with them. I feel like it's probably just crossed wires. Wish I would have known. I would have gone in there today and been like, hey, come to the community board tonight. So my inclination is not to oppose anything because I'm sure this is just an oversight.
Tessan? Please get the microphone.
So I guess I feel like the board, shouldn't be in the business of interfering with small business, short of like a nuclear disposal of small business. I think we should have the ethos that small businesses are the backbone of our local economy. And so I get the whole process stuff. I think that's important. I think processes are there for a reason. But yeah, I think, in addition to the context that Katie provided, I think also the context
for our community board should be that small businesses are, again, short of I mean, I can't think of many other businesses that we should be opposing, right? Like, it's just not, I don't know, something we should do.
Yeah. Dan?
There's just a quick comment adding on to Diana's and that context too. If you haven't been to that Seco, they have, if I'm thinking of the right place, they have no indoor seating. It's a very small place, so the dining out, 2-bar seat. Okay, but the dining out is their business. That's where their money comes from. So I think that is an important component here too.
Thank you, Dan. I would like to ask the motioner and seconder if they would be open to withdrawing their motion.
I'm open to it.
Okay. So seeing as they do not, as the motion is still on the floor, I like to, we would need to vote on the motion. The motion is to disapprove the application for dining out at Seco. I'm going to do this by a hand vote. You're going to raise your hand if you approve with disapproving the application. For the
Approve.
and yes, a yes is to disapprove, and a no is to not disapprove. Cynthia, do you withdraw yours? Okay, so the motion is to disapprove. It has been motioned. Is there a second? Is there a second to the motion to disapprove? Seeing none, the motion is not motioned. Not recognized. Thank you. I'm having such brain farts tonight. So I'd like to take no action, or like to motion to take no action on the application. Seconded by Barbara. All those in favor of not taking action on the Seco dining out application, please raise your hand. Yes, thank you, Jamie. Is there discussion on the motion to seek no action on the dining out application?
Before we vote on this motion, Julio beat me to it, but I was planning on motioning to just approve it based on the vetting we've heard from some board members.
Thank you. There is currently a motion to take no action. That still does not preclude the Department of Transportation will hold their own hearing on the application, and then they can determine if the application goes through, and if someone feels passionately in their own capacity, they're free to speak at the hearing. They'll notify us when they schedule it. I know. Is there any additional discussion? Dan?
I guess just before we vote, not to overcomplicate things, but in voting, it is possible to not vote in favor of no action, and then another motion comes out to approve it. So if you are feeling like it really should be approved and we shouldn't be holding up this process, that is also an option of how this could unfold. So keep that in mind as voting.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. So at Jeremy's suggestion, we're going to do a roll call. A yes vote is to agree with taking no action. A no vote is to not agree with taking action. And Jeremy will call the roll. Yes. What did I say?
Say that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the roll call vote. Hand votes are very difficult. Let's start with Diana Aguilar. Thank you. Grisel Amador. Thank you. Damon Andrade. Thank you. I should be calling your votes. Diana, Grisel, and Damian were all yeses. Jalea Bailey.
Yes is no.
Don't speak when I call somebody else's name, please. Joan Body. Joan Body, yes. Gladys Bruno? Gladys Bruno, yes. Jerry Chan? I'm sorry, Jerry?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Please don't call out other people's votes. Esteban Chavez? Esteban Chavez, yes. Richard Codor? John DeLuper? John DeLuper, yes. Beatrice DeSapio? Gabino Morales Escamilla? Gabino Morales Escamilla, yes. Cynthia Felix Jeffers?
Yes, thank you, Jeremy.
Cynthia Felix Jeffers, yes. Jamie Freed? Jamie Freed, no. Kin Fung? Diana,
Yes.
Kin Fung, yes. Diana Gonzalez? Diana Gonzalez, no. Hector Gonzalez?
Yes.
Hector Gonzalez, yes. Kenny Guan? Kenny Guan, yes. Moshe Hecht? Nicole Huang? Nicole Huang, yes. Nicholas Jackson? Nicholas Jackson, no. Dan Kaminsky? Dan Kaminsky, no. Jeremy Kaplan? Jeremy Kaplan, no. Aaron Keith? Aaron Keith, yes. Wyco? Wyco, yes. Barbara Lee? Barbara Lee, yes. Christina Lim? Angie Lau? Paul Mack?
Yes.
Paul Mack, yes. Antoinette Martinez? Antoinette Martinez, no. Jonathan Martinez? Jonathan Martinez abstain. Marilyn Melman? Rosie Moda?
Hi, yes is no action, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Rosie Moda, yes. Julio Pena the third?
Yes.
Julio Pena the third, yes. Karen Rolnick? Karen Rolnick, yes. Joanna Romero?
No.
Joanna Romero, no. Nicole Ruiz? Patricia Ruiz? Patricia Ruiz, yes. Damaris Santiago?
Yes.
Damaris Santiago, yes. Sam Sierra? Kalina Sorma? Kalina Sorma, yes. Faye Walker? Faye Walker, no. Catherine Walsh? Catherine Walsh, yes. Cesar Zuniga? Cesar Zuniga, no. Motion to take no action carries 26 in favor, 9 opposed, 1 abstention.
Thank you, and thank you, John. Was there more?
Yeah, very brief.
Go ahead.
Yep. I'll get your, oh, thank you, Barbara. Just wanted to add, we also had a presentation from Uprose on the Sunset Park Greenway. Additional details are in the minutes, and there's a link there to their full Greenway plan, as well as in the documents you were emailed, there's also a copy of their PowerPoint that they presented. Finally, we also discussed priorities for the year ahead. There's a whole bunch of them. They're really good, interesting things. I would encourage you to read through the minutes and reach out to the committee if you have any questions. We also ask that anyone who has any other ideas for priorities for the Transportation Committee to send an email to the BKO7 account so that we can consider that as we also develop the priorities going forward. So thank you all.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Katie. Moving on to the joint committee meeting with Public Safety and Education, Health and Human Services on the New York for All resolution.
Thank you. We had a meeting immediately before our general meeting, and we discussed the New York for All Act. The bill itself is outside if you're interested in the full text, as is the proposal. We did have quorum. We also had Senator Ganaris join us and give a overview. There were 2 amendments to the proposal. We're just adding Community Board 7 represents Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace. And we are also adding a whereas that we will be requesting that all elected officials that are represent Community Board 7 and the surrounding areas support this bill as well. Jonathan?
One more thing. The bill number will not be the same as the one in the document. This is because they haven't reintroduced the bill, so we have to put a placeholder on the number of the bill.
And just to be clear, it is that we will be sending a letter of support to Governor Hochul as well as the committees in both the state and assembly to support this act. Because we did have a quorum, we voted to approve, so we do not need a motion. We are just going to probably ask for unanimous consent.
Yes, thank you, Cynthia. Is there discussion on the motion on the letter of support resolution with a letter of support for the New York for All Act? Seeing none, I would like to ask for support for this letter by unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the resolution? Seeing or hearing none, so approved.
And we would just like to thank Damien for bringing this up at the last board meeting and for all those who attended the process. Thank you, Damien.
Thank you.
Moving on to our second roll call.
Thank you. I am only calling the names of the folks who were not here at the first roll call. If you don't hear your name, it means you've already been marked present. If you are joining us on Zoom, please remember to unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. Jalea Bailey, Beatrice DeSapio, Moshe Hecht, Barbara Lee, thank you. Christina Lem, Angie Lau, Marilyn Melman, Nicole Ruiz, Sam Sierra, Cesar Zuniga. Thank you. Roll is called.
Thank you. Moving on to the chair's report. I just have one item, actually two. I wanted to just publicly thank the Sunset Park Lions Club for a wonderful Three Kings Day celebration last weekend or 2 weekends ago now at this point. It was a beautiful event. They gave out over 300 toys. And then I also wanted to publicly thank Natasha Cordero, who was able to get donations of bicycles that they gave out. And it was just a really beautiful event. And thank you to Natasha and thank you to the Lions Club, Cynthia. The only other item I wanted to talk about, it's actually about what happened at the Transportation Committee last week. As folks know, the meeting had to go virtual because there wasn't heat in the building. And there were some inappropriate, rude, harassing comments in the chat. And I just wanted to publicly state this board does not tolerate harassment of any kind, nor does it tolerate threats of any kind. We take those very seriously. I don't want to speak too detailed about what was said and what was done in the chat. I will just state that we will be informing the appropriate authorities and making a report. And also just to state, this board has and will continue to provide a space for members of the community to participate, to engage in dialogue, but we do not condone any harassing behavior or tolerate any of that behavior. And I would just encourage those who feel like they have any ability to say whatever they want. You don't. There are consequences to your actions. And I would just encourage all of us to support that and consider that. That being said, that is my report, and I will turn it to Jeremy for the district manager's report.
Happy 2025, everyone. Julio already thanked Natasha, so that was a big part of my first item. So let me just say, we had another successful toy drive this year. I think this is our 34th out of the past 35 years we've held a toy drive. We didn't have it in 2020 for COVID reasons. We were able to give 400 toys that were donated this year. I want to thank Griselle Amador and the seniors at United Senior Citizens of Sunset Park, who are always our largest donors. I think we got a couple of hundred toys from the seniors this year, so thank you. I also want to thank Karen Rolnick, who volunteered her time to help us with sorting toys, and of course, Natasha Cordero, who organizes all of this. Again, we gave out 400 toys. They went to the shelters at Glow, the family shelter, and Days Inn. We also supported the Three Kings celebrations by the Sunset Park Lions and United Volunteers. I want to make sure everybody is aware of this a couple of months in advance. The March 19th board meeting, we are looking to schedule that in Windsor Terrace. We don't have the location locked down. Hopefully I have the vendor now, who is not the same vendor who stood us up in September, but it will be in Windsor Terrace, location to be determined. Just want to make sure it's on everybody's radar for the March meeting. On January 3rd, I spoke with our EDC rep for our monthly meeting. This month, I was the only person from the board there. It was a very brief meeting. He said he didn't have much to tell us since the previous meeting because of the holidays. However, we did speak about the Economic Mobility Network request for proposals, which the EDC has let and is receiving responses to now through February 27th. They're seeking local organizations to train and connect local residents to local jobs, something that we have been asking for a couple of decades at least. And they are interested in presenting to the board, to the appropriate committee of the board very soon. Stay tuned for that. Tomorrow evening, I don't believe this is a public meeting, but I am somehow on the IBX Community Council. They are meeting tomorrow evening at 4:30. I will be attending that. At the previous meeting, I asked them what the ridership was expected from this community and what and how much the project would cost. And I wanted to find out how much would it cost to make all of our subway stations accessible, which has long been a goal of this community. I noted for them that we have not taken a position on IBX, but we have taken a position on accessibility. And I'd like to know what the costs are for each. And I'd like to know if we would get more bang for the buck with ridership if we just made all our stations accessible as opposed to IBX. So I'm still waiting for that. If anybody else has a question, again, I don't think this is a public meeting, but I'm happy to ask your questions. So please feel free to contact the board before 3 p.m. tomorrow, and I will be happy to bring that up at the meeting. The Parks and Environment Committee is collecting locations, hopefully with photos, of areas within the district that are in desperate need of cleaning. From my perspective, particularly areas that are city-owned property that never get cleaned. In addition to cleaning, we're also looking to get additional sanitation enforcement. We've had some success beneath 3rd Avenue, underneath the highway. We're looking for more there, including moving out the illegally parked vehicles. And we're also looking to clean up some of the bad areas within the community. Also, I spoke about this last month, but tomorrow I'm also meeting with the other Brooklyn DMs with the borough president to talk about potential charter changes to support community boards, including the possibility of creating a central staff for all community boards, increasing our budgets and other additional charter issues. If anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to contact me. The borough president let it be known that he wants to work with the district managers on that. Since the last board meeting in December, there have been 14 liquor license applications, new and renewal applications, one cannabis license, and one application, and one dining out application that have come in. And then finally, the police department stats are on the comp stat out on the table outside.
Thank you, Jeremy. Moving on to old business. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Jonathan, Cynthia.
Hello, hello. Given the appetite for more action in terms of legislation, as an example, what we just did today, I would like to again invite the Board of President to do a presentation for our board. I then suggested topics, and I feel like I haven't get a response yet. And I would like to put the board to sign like a document to send it to the Board of President to show our support for a presentation of this type.
Yeah, if you can send me that, we can make that request with the Borough President's office. Cynthia?
Yes, I just want to formally thank, in my capacity of president of the Brooklyn Sunset Park Lions Club, Brooklyn Community Board 7 for their support of our Fiesta de los Tres Reyes Magos, which took place on January 4th. Like Julio said, we had over 300 families come, and thanks to the support of Community Board 7, particularly Natasha, Maria, and Jeremy, we were able to not only raffle off bikes, but every child got multiple toys. They also had delicious food, Rosca de Reyes, thanks to Don Paco Panderia, small business in the community, and it was a great event. So I want to thank them. I have certificates for them, and I believe it was Rosie or somebody else, I forgot who it was at the last meeting, that said they really need to highlight on our new website all the great things the community board does. This was certainly one of them. To see the smile on the families as we celebrated culture, tradition. We had a parranda. We had Mexican dancers. We had the children perform, and it was just a wonderful event of culture and tradition. So I want to thank the community board for their support of our event and of the Lions Club. And now back to Chair of Public Safety. We are having a meeting on January 28th to address the concerns that have been brought up about the use of propane tanks on both 8th and 5th Avenue. We have several agencies coming that day, DSNY, FDNY. Both our elected officials will be here. So I urge you to come to that meeting so we could come up as a collective community to see how we could address those concerns. January 28th, right here in this room. Hopefully we'll have heat. If not, we'll be on Zoom.
Thank you, Cynthia. Any other new business?
No.
Turn it on. That one's not on. Take the one behind you. Behind you. There you go.
Yeah, okay. I guess I have two quick new business items. I guess one item I'd like to request is as we have seen on 40th Street and 4th Avenue, there's like new construction on I guess they're doing construction from the old gas station. Maybe if we could try to find who are the developers or who's constructing the site and have them come to the behalf of the community board 7 and ask them what are their plans to do, and if they're doing housing, what type of housing, and give us a breakdown and what they're trying to do with that land. And then the second one, I would like to ask the board to draft a letter to come up with a letter to send to the city, I believe, when we were talking about the public space for the library, and ask if the mayor or any city officials to come to the community board and discuss that area. So maybe if we could take back that public space and kind of like what Pat said, we could use it for as a community space. We could even expand our community board or just have it as a public space where members of the community could use it and actually really take it advantage. Because right now it's just sitting there collecting spider webs.
Literally. To your first point, we can look into that, into getting contact information and reaching out. To your second point, this board has been on record for many years that we want to see that space turn into a community center. We have sent a letter to NYPD. Their response was pretty much, sorry, we're using the space. And I believe it is also still in our capital budget that we want that space used as and funded as a community center as our number one priority. So we can definitely reach out again. I fear it would fall on deaf ears, but yeah, we have been on
Maybe
record for years
reaching
about
it
that.
out again and maybe possibly include the mayor this time to see maybe
Yeah.
if, I don't know who's next higher up. I'm gonna assume the mayor. He could do something.
Can I
be something.
add to his request? Since the police is so adamant about keeping the space, they do have a police athletic league. That could be part of that room.
PAL, nonprofit organization. I saw a hand up from Jonathan.
Believe that you can also add like elected officials in the area as possible supporters.
Thank you.
Alexa had said that she support that.
Is there any other new business? Jerry?
Yes, thank you. With the start of the congestion pricing, other neighborhoods, and you guys heard me saying this over and over again, right? Other neighborhoods above 16th Street are getting impact of cars that are parking in the neighborhood, creating a lot of congestion above the congestion pricing. I want to know, can the board ask the entity to come in to talk about what is there any impact because of the congestion pricing that the parking space, not having parking space increase in Sunset Park?
Was that an ask for the MTA? I didn't quite hear
Yeah,
your first part.
ask the MTA to come. I'm sorry, I'm in Syracuse right now, driving.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, ask the MTA to come in to provide the data analytic, right, of how many people are actually going to the toll between the peak hour versus the peak hour. So I don't know. I do a lot of driving in Atlanta. So what I have been noticed that since the start of congestion pricing, people are actually hanging out on the highway just like the airport, right? I wait until 9 p.m. before they actually come into the city because right it had increased the people are parking like on off ramps and on ramps and stuff. I'm asking the board to ask MTA to come in to do to give us a data analysis of what is the impact, right? How many cars actually go into the city?
Yes,
Since the
thank
congestion
you.
pricing.
Thank you, Jerry. I know congestion pricing has been in effect just over 1 week now at this point. So I think the city needs to do, and state needs to do a little bit more data collection, but I do know the Transportation Committee soliciting ideas, and I think this would be well-rounded for them to think about and asking the MTA and or DOT, probably just the MTA because the DOT has no oversight of it, to ask them about impacts they're seeing from the implementation of congestion pricing.
If I could just add to Jerry, I know that some communities, and particularly up in Manhattan, Washington Heights, they have looking at residential parking because there are many residents that are now parking here and then taking the subway, and residents who live in the community have nowhere to park. So residential parking, I know I've had conversations with people, is something that perhaps we as a community board could also look for and advocate. I know in Washington Heights in particular for the GWB, areas of Bay Ridge because of their coming over from Staten Island as well, is something that we definitely should look at.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. Any other new business? Seeing none, moving on to public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak before the board? Seeing none? Sure, 3 minutes, please. Dan has it behind you.
Yeah, no, just to echo, I think the comments from the person, Damien, my bad. It's been a long night. That as a community, yeah, we would love to support this board in getting that space opened up. It's kind of ridiculous how long it's been in that condition. And also, obviously, this is a big political year where it seems, I don't know if y'all believe in polls, but it seems like this current administration and mayor on the way out, and maybe somebody new will come in who does care about Sunset Park. So I think politically it's the right time to bring it up. And I think a lot of people in the neighborhood would love to support it. So I think in addition to letters, maybe there could be something more public done, some kind of, I don't know, could be like a rally, could be like an event, something to bring visibility to the fact that, wow, this space sitting here empty. It could be totally different if the elected officials who, seem like they're getting more taxes from us than ever in some ways, so what's the benefit to us? When are we going to get it? And I think this is one of the big benefits that definitely the next mayor, and if the next mayor doesn't want to do it, well, there's a lot of other people that are taking a lot of taxes from us, including the governor with her new MTA fees. And, the Congress member has some money too. I've heard he just took some of his rent money, given it to Industry City. Well, maybe he could have given it to, I don't know, some kind of space over here. He could have an office here. A lot of legislators could have office. Like a lot of this building could be used a lot differently than it is today. And maybe, it's not about kicking NYPD out, but maybe there's another place where NYPD could store its files. And I think a lot of people on this board have been very eloquent on the issue over the years, including prior chairs. So it's, I think it's the right time to do that advocacy. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. Any other public comment? Seeing or hearing none, meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night.